Good morning, FedPhoenix fam. So, today I'm going to do a video about some prison health and hygiene tips and hacks pertaining to like commissary. Keep in mind that I obviously went to women's prison, so if you're going to men's, some of these may not apply to you. And also keep in mind that the prison I did my time at was Outerson, which is in the mountains of West Virginia. So climate is definitely a factor in regards to what your health and hygiene needs are going to be in any location, but especially in prison. And today, since y'all know I tend to get sidetracked easy, I actually wrote notes so that I can not forget anything and make sure that I keep things straight. So let's just hop right into it. Okay, the first thing that I put that I want to point out is the prison I was at, and I know this isn't true of all prisons, but it can happen anywhere, and it's always better to be prepared for things than wait for them to happen and then struggle to adjust. But the prison I was at frequently did not have necessities within the commissary, right? So there would be times where for a week, 2 weeks, sometimes longer, you couldn't buy any form of toothpaste, or you couldn't buy soap, or different things. So you definitely always wanted to stay extra prepared in regards to your hygiene, supply in your locker. And granted, when you're incarcerated, all of your worldly possessions have to fit into your locker and in a tote under your bunk. And most facilities have rules, like you can only have up to, I think, 4 body washes, 2 or 3 shampoos. So you definitely want to consult the inmate handbook and make sure that what is within your possession does not exceed what the handbook says you're allowed to possess. Because if not, then whenever the COs come and do a shakedown, if they're feeling extra petty, or if they just don't like you, or maybe they want to give you a hard time because they're on a short sentence and they really want to teach your lesson to you, they will confiscate your stuff. And if you have excessive stuff, they will take it. And not only will they take it, but you never get it back. It isn't like they take your stuff and, okay, well, you had 7 shampoos, you're only allowed 3, so we're going to take 4. But we'll give them back as you use your... No. They just throw it in the trash. Goodbye. There goes your money, there goes your supplies. So make sure you always consult the inmate handbook. Don't ask the other inmates, what am I allowed to have? Because here's the thing. 1, half of them haven't even bothered to read their handbook. And a lot of them, that's going to bite them in the butt at some point. And 2, why would you risk investing your money and losing things that you need based on someone else's opinion or their personal knowledge when you could very simply just find out for yourself what is within the allowed parameters? So keep that in mind. So the first thing I want to say is 1 is none and 2 is 1. So when it comes to your utmost necessities, soap, shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, whatever, 1 is none. Once you're only down to 1 of these things, consider yourself out of them and frantically try to get an extra. But 2 is 1. So what I would always do is I would keep 1, right? The one I'm using, plus a backup. And whenever the one I'm using was about halfway gone, I would then order another. And sometimes, like I said, if they happen to not have it, well, chances are if I just keep every week trying to order, my backup, then eventually, there's more often than not, almost always, I will have another one before I'm out of the one that was my backup. And of course, at that point, you want to get to ordering another because, now you're down to half of one. But 1 is none and 2 is 1. Keep that in mind. Also, you got to keep in mind, too, that in camps, they like to do mass punishment. So even if you've done nothing wrong, you may find yourself on email restriction, phone restriction, cube restriction, which is really extreme and nuts, commissary restriction. And in the event, and if that happens, there's probably going to be little to no warning ahead of time. So you really want to make sure that you are ready for whatever comes, because one thing about surviving prison is you have to be able to kind of roll with the punches. You have to kind of, be able to be indifferent to a lot of the crap just to kind of mentally get through. And one of the best things you can do with that, or to deal with that, is to be prepared for things that may or are likely to pop up. So that when they happen, you're not losing your mind and scrambling, like a lot the unprepared people are, just like in the free world. Okay. Another thing, before I went to Outerson, I had never had seasonal allergies in my life. And I live in West Virginia. I just live a few hours away from the prison. But I don't know if it was the high altitude and perhaps, the different plants and wildlife there. I don't know if it was stress just compromising my immune system or what. but I definitely developed some seasonal allergies while I was there. Another thing is there are two types of allergy meds, at least there were in our commissary, the white pills and the yellow pills. The yellow pills double as a sleep aid, even though the bottle says non-drowsy. They'll help you sleep. And trust me, that's going to come in handy in prison. So I highly suggest getting a thing of liquid tears, not the allergy eye drops, because those will actually dry your eyes out more, believe it or not. You want to just get the liquid tears eye drops and some yellow allergy pills. Good to have on hand. Another thing is, I'm going to cross these out as I go. Okay, if you are a plus size lady, you definitely want to buy a few pairs of socks off commissary. Yes, every 6 months they will issue you whites, socks, sports bras, which are laughable, as are the socks, and underwear. A lot of the underwear, within a couple of times of wearing them or washing them, they literally fall apart. With the socks, they're like tube socks, and they're really made for people with very, very tiny legs. If you're not incredibly slim, you're going to have issues with the tube socks, not only because, they obviously fall apart very easily, which everyone has those issues, but more so if you're using them, causes them to stretch out. But in addition to that, they're just going to be really uncomfortable and they're going to cut into your calves. Whereas the socks on commissary are like an ankle sock, and they're actually, even though they're like Dollar Tree brand, they still are. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Buy yourself a couple pairs of socks off commissary. Buy yourself a 3-pack of underwear, because you're going to probably need them. So another thing is you want to get Vicks, like for your chest cold Vicks, and Vaseline. The Vaseline doubles, and mind you, in the wintertime, sometimes the cold air blowing, it burns your face. It hurts so bad up in the mountain. You put a thin layer of Vaseline on your face, you don't have to worry about this as much. You're protecting your face from wind damage, or the cold and stuff. But also Vaseline doubles as a moisturizer. It doubles as a chapstick. If your locker is not opening and shutting properly and you need some kind of lubricant to put on the hinges, Vaseline. Vaseline is going to be one of your best friends to have, just a thing of it just on hand. Now, the Vaseline and the Visine and the dental floss are not a 1 is none, 2 is 1 kind of thing. You only need one. And I strongly recommend the Vicks, because not only is this also a lubricant in a pinch, particularly for like your bunk or your locker, because the thing is, no one's going to give a crap if these things need that kind of care. And so in which case you will have to figure it out for yourself. And so you want to be prepared to do that. But when I was incarcerated, a woman was putting Vicks on her feet, not because she was congested or anything, but to moisturize them at night with her socks. And I was like, why not just use Vaseline? It's cheaper, And I think for the most part, I did Vaseline over lotion on my feet at night to keep them relatively soft. But I definitely did the Vicks periodically too. And she said, well, the Vicks has all these different oils in it, eucalyptus oil, mink oil, whatever. So certainly this is going to be a much more efficient, foot, skin moisturizer than Vaseline, which was a fair point, and it seemed to work really well. And also the Vicks will help prevent and kill foot fungus. Because if you're at a camp, particularly work camp, you're going to spend a lot of time in your work boots, a lot. And the thing is you can't just go back to your unit and change your socks and wash your feet whenever you want. You can't just take a shower whenever you want. So you really want to take a lot of preventative measures to not get any foot ick. And then with the dental floss, huh? Listen, even if you buy the flossers for your teeth, keep a dental floss on hand. Personally, I say use the dental floss in place of flossers and keep a couple of dental flosses. But dental floss is great string. Dental floss is relatively strong, and you can always double it up or take, 3 lines of it and braid them to make stronger. But you're going to need cordage occasionally to hang your locker organizer in your locker, maybe to fix a pair of uniform pants, which you're really not allowed to do. But, trust me, you'd rather do that if you find a pair of pants that actually fit you well. Then go change them in at laundry for some that may not fit you. So you definitely want to keep you some dental floss, because dental floss, amongst 100 other uses, is cordage. I've seen people take dental floss, right, and take 3 long strands, braid them together, and then do that with 3 more, and then they had 3 braided strands, and they braided those 3 strands, and then they used the dental floss to actually make rope to reinforce their bunk if they had a spring bunk, because some of us had slabs, some had spring bunks. And it was genius. And so yeah, get you some of that. Seriously. Another thing is nail clippers. A lot of people don't think about this when they first go into prison, right? Because you're going into prison fairly well groomed, I would imagine. But the problem is by the time that this becomes a need, commissary may not have them, and they might not have them for a long time. And you don't want to share those with other folks. So things like, emery boards were on our commissary sheet, and so were Puma stones, like for your feet. But they almost never had these items. Now, I had a Puma stone. I had a pack of emery boards, but that was because I literally put them on my commissary sheet every single week, and it took me probably 9 or 10 months to eventually get one. And these are huge items too, that you can also trade with other people, although, you're not technically allowed to, but this is such a minor thing that unless you're doing it on a large scale, no one really cares. But because these are commodity items, right? Like if I would have had an extra Puma stone when people couldn't get them for 8 or 9 months, I probably could have traded a Puma stone for someone for 4 times its value in other commissary that I actually could use. So, and you really want to put yourself in a position to be okay and to do well and to thrive in any environment, including prison. So definitely nail clippers, emery board, Puma stone. Get those. And you're going to have a lot of dry skin and skin breakouts and all kind of weird issues from the stress and the environment and the diet. You really want to be prepared to really just basically upkeep. It's not even about being cute. It's about just, leaving prison in a relatively decent condition and surviving in one. So when you get home, you have less to clean up to get back to normal. Okay. Another thing is you want to get extra shower shoes, aka suicide slides. The shower shoes are just flip-flops. They are a lower quality than what you normally get at the Dollar Tree, and they're $3 something a pair. Get a second pair, because these really cheap, crappy things that also you're going to slide a lot when you wear them to and from the shower, they come apart really easily. And you don't want to be in a situation where your shower shoes are coming apart and, God forbid you don't have shower shoes, although foot fungus and stuff, that kind of thing wasn't really as common in the prison as I expected it to be. It certainly was nowhere near as common as in like county jail, because things are a lot cleaner, but you definitely want to keep you a backup pair. So another thing that I have on the list is antibacterial soap. We had a Jergens antibacterial soap. A lot of people didn't like it. They said, oh, it dries out my skin or whatever. Let me tell you, when COVID was up and jumping in there, you definitely wanted to have you some antibacterial soap. And I always tell people, even if you're a baller who can afford to do body wash, which with how hard the water was, I mean, you had to use a crap load of body wash to get a real good lather going, So I just did bar soap. I did a few body washes, during the course of my incarceration, just for something different, really as a morale boost than anything else, to feel a little more normal, because I use body wash mostly in the free world. But you want to keep yourself a bar. I kept a bar of Dove, and one is none. Or, once I would open one, I would start trying to order another. And I kept a bar of the Jergens antibacterial. So whenever like cold season's going around or any kind of weird bug is going around, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to use your antibacterial soap when you shower. And then they had at the time, and they sometimes they had it, sometimes they didn't, but a nice in-shower lotion that I would put on after I showered with the antibacterial soap, specifically because it did dry your skin out a good bit, but that countered that and prevented that. Again, here's where your Vaseline can come in handy. Or a cocoa butter stick. They sell those. Those are really helpful. Those are good for not only moisture, but you can use them for almost for edge control for your hair. Keep your eyebrows in place, slap some of that on, use an extra toothbrush to shape your eyebrows. You can use it on your feet. There's a lot of uses for that. So I definitely, cocoa butter stick is good to have, but, you definitely want to get you some antibacterial soap. You only need 1 bar unless you're going to make that your primary soap, which by the way is the cheapest soap you can buy on commissary. So if you're on a budget, get you some kind of skin moisturizer and the antibacterial soap, and it'll do you some favors, trust me. And also you got to think too, I really don't feel like MRSA and like staph or athlete's foot, I really don't feel like any of that kind of stuff was more common in the federal prison than it was in the free world. Because again, the environment was much cleaner than most, lockup situations. But, using antibacterial soap can certainly help prevent some of the icky nasties. And the reason why I say that's important, even though these seem to be not really as common as they are in most other, institutional settings, is because the healthcare was crap. We had 700 women on a mountain with not one doctor, and many of these women were chronically ill. Many of these women were aging people, and all we had was some nurses and people on lower tiers of medical expertise. So it was a crapshoot getting any type of medical care. So you definitely want to prevent needing medical care as much as humanly possible. So on that note, in line with that, next I have antibiotic ointment on my list. It gets a little tube, and again, it's Dollar Tree brand, and you're gonna pay $3-4 for it, even though in the free world it's under $2. But keep you one on hand. If you get any kind of abrasions or whatever, scratches, bug bites, you want to have this on hand. Because again, the idea is to prevent as much medical need as humanly possible, because in the event that you have medical needs, the care you're going to get is going to be excessively minimal, possibly to the point of your demise. And I say that because right before I came to Outerson, a woman had passed, and due to medical negligence. Let's just call it what it is. And it was my first month or two there that literally 2 different women in the unit above mine had passed as well, due to COVID complications, which could have been easily remedied with proper medical care, avoided. And, my condolences to their loved ones, sincerely. But you don't want to be that person. You don't. This is a slice of your life. It is a temporary situation. You get in there and you get home. And you do what you need to do to make sure you are in there as short of a time frame as possible. And certainly getting home to your family and getting home in the best condition possible largely depends on your preventing medical issues where you can. Also, they sold some supplements on commissary. 3 big ones that you need to get are the vitamin C, the fiber, and the stool softeners. You are going to have a very high carb diet to survive in prison. Not only what they feed you down at the, the CDR, the chow hall, but also what's available in commissary. You need to keep your bowels moving. And this isn't just for people with digestive issues or people with, and I think at one point they even had a probiotic. Yeah, they did. And I certainly got like 2 bottles of that and was taking it every day until they just didn't have it available anymore. But and mind you, 80% of your immune health, by the way, happens in your intestines. So keeping your bowels healthy is key to not only not gaining a crap ton of weight while you're in there, but just your overall health in general. And the vitamin C, I really didn't take it unless there was like a bug going around or I was feeling a little off. And granted, it's not high quality. It's not going to do miracles for you, but it's certainly better than not having it. So another thing on the list, you guys are going to like this. This is fun, is pickle juice. On commissary, they sell pickle in a bag, right? Now, I'm not referring to the hot one, just the normal dill, kosher dill, whatever it is one. So the pickle juice, it has vinegar. Vinegar is a great way, drizzle some on them toesies, in the shower, and then rinse them off before you get out after you've washed up. And that's a great way to prevent and eliminate, foot fungus. It's also a great scalp treatment. If you have dandruff, I think psoriasis as well, but especially like dandruff, a lot of scalp conditions. In the free world, I use a mix of half apple cider vinegar, half water. And at least once a week when I'm washing my hair, after I wash my hair, I put this rinse on my scalp and I kind of work it in. And then, I give it a few seconds and then I rinse it out and then I condition my ends. But you can do the same thing, although it's not going to be as fabulous as in the free world, but it is what it is. And what you do is after you eat your pickle, you take your pickle out, you keep the pickle juice. Now, some people drink pickle juice. I'm sure it has digestive benefits. I just can't bring myself to do it. But and you take this pickle juice and you can put it in, some kind of sealable container. Or what I would do is, for my job, I would steal those little clips, that you put like the whole paperwork together, like 2 little things like this with like little clippy things. And I would just fold the top over and clip it to keep it shut. And you may be wondering, well, ooh, isn't your head and scalp going to smell like, a pot of greens? No. The vinegar smell goes away on its own fairly quickly, hence why vinegar is a very popular cleaning supply, because it does sanitize to a degree, but also the actual smell of it, it's natural, it sanitizes, non-toxic, and the actual scent doesn't really linger very long. It kind of goes away on its own pretty quick. So definitely get you some pickles, keep the pickle juice. And even if you don't consume pickles, that's fine. You tell somebody, hey, look, I got this pickle I'm about to open, but I just want the juice. I don't want the pickle. Why don't you trade me I'll trade you a pack of noodles for my pickle. You can definitely barter. Bartering is going to be your best friend, but never, ever, ever, ever give anyone credit on a barter, and never ask for credit on a barter. You'll save yourself a lot of BS and a lot of headaches that way. Pickle juice. It's a big one. Okay, another one that is a bit odd is after I've been there about a year, right? And this is going to get a little personal, but underneath my tatas, I had developed like a heat rash, right? And I was talking to one of my prison buddies about it, and they said you need to get some Monistat. You need to get the generic yeast infection cream they sell on commissary. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, And they said, first off, great for foot care if you got a toe or spot on your foot that's getting a little sketchy. But also, they said what you do when you get the underboob rash, it may be a heat rash. A lot of times it develops into like a actual yeast infection. That's disgusting, but it is what it is. But they said either way, after you take your shower and you dry real good, just take a little teeny pea-size amount and rub it underneath your tatas. And this will clear that up and prevent it. And you can also, if you're, an exceptionally, notably large woman, if you have a lot of folds and crevices on your back and sides or tum-tum, you can use it there as well. So, and it's just good to have, because if you have, God forbid, if you end up developing a yeast infection while you're incarcerated, which is probably more likely than in the free world, because again, you have a lot of climate and moisture issues and you don't have access to the proper hygiene care that you do in the free world. It's much better to have it on hand than you go to medical and they say, well, buy it off commissary. And then commissary doesn't have it for a month. Get you some. Seriously, ladies, even if I'm not a person who's prone to yeast infections. I've had one or two my entire life. But even if you're not a person that's prone to them, get you some of this. It's better to have it than not have it. Trust me. Okay. And then we're almost done here. One more thing on my list. Two more things. First off, when I got there, I bought the baby powder. And of course, it's like a April shower. So, it's whatever basically same brand Dollar Tree sells for $1. They want to sell you for like $6. And I put it, under my tatas and, places I want to keep dry. And it was abrasive. It actually gave me a rash because it was so gritty and abrasive. Baby powder is usually like silky, smooth, soft. This is not. This is abrasive. The only purpose this crap can serve is if you want to put some down between your mat and your fitted sheet or the sheet you tie on your mat, to kind of, keep things a little fresher, that's fine. If you want to use some as dry shampoo, little hack right there, that's fine. If you would like to put some in your boots or your shoes because you're going to be doing a lot of living in those and your feet are going to get wet and sweaty sometimes to help minimize moisture, also fine. A lot of people use the baby powder. I never had a cube that had ants in it in the lockers, but some of the cubes got ants in the lockers. And one of the prison hacks, and it seemed to actually work, although I can't make any sense of it, but people would put a nice heavy line of baby powder around their locker, underneath their locker, and any crevices where the ants seemed to be coming out. And this definitely seemed to work as at least a deterrent for those particular pest issues. So for all those purposes, the baby powder's fine. But if you want to get it to put it directly on your skin to use like you would baby powder in the free world, do not. It's abrasive. It's some gritty, nasty stuff, and it will tear your skin up. Okay, and then our last thing, we're almost done here, is bottled water and baby wipes. So when I was in prison, they sold flushable wipes on the commissary, which at home, when we use the bathroom, we do wipes to clean and toilet tissue to dry, right? Which I know a lot of other women do this as well. Some men, but it's, more common with women. But but in prison, they quit selling us the flushable wipes. So if they brought them back, or if you go somewhere that has them, get them. Because there are definitely going to be times where you're not feeling so fresh. And when that happens, it's really convenient to have a little pack of wipes in your pocket or in your locker. Also, if you get put on cube restriction, when they put my whole unit on cube restriction for almost a week, they wouldn't let us shower. They would let us shower once every 3 days. And so you got women with all kinds of women issues, all walks of life, all age groups that just aren't being allowed to wash their butts because, that's a privilege, which is disgusting, especially when you have people jammed in together. That's a freaking health risk. But I was someone who had baby wipes. Most people did not. And let me tell you, I wasn't as fresh and clean as Andre 3000 in that really popular catchy song in the 90s, or was it early 2000s? Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh, so clean, so fresh and so clean, clean. But I wasn't that fresh and clean with just the baby wipes in between showers. But I certainly was holding up a whole lot better than most people. And it really wasn't about like, you don't want to smell like onions, in general, but it was just about your headspace mentally. When you know that you don't stink, when you feel the cleaner than you necessarily would otherwise, it definitely helps you mentally kind of push through. So keep that in mind. And then bottled water, get you one. Even if you drink the water out of it, get you one. Because here's the thing, is they weren't letting us. First off, the tap water in West Virginia is sketchy at best. Google West Virginia C8 water. Google West Virginia tap water cancer. The water here is not, like, even in my home, we use a zero water pitcher to filter our water before we actually consume it. We just use it for washing and cleaning from the tap. So the quality of tap water where you live, where you go to prison, is probably not going to be great, and probably less great inside the prison than it is in the community around. So keep that in mind. So keeping you a bottle of water serves several purposes. Like when we were on cube restriction, again, they would not use the hot water machine. And so your only access to water was in the bathroom sinks. And they wouldn't let you repeatedly go back to the bathroom too frequently. Like, they're really being crazy. But if you had a bottle for bottled water, you could sneak it in the bathroom with you, fill it up at the sink if you needed to have water on hand if you're a person that drinks a lot of water or needs a lot of water. So you actually have access to that. Also, there would be times where there would be no water, just because pipes broke, because of various issues. We just would not have flushing toilets and running water for a period of usually hours. In a pinch like that, especially in the summertime when it's hot as crap, keeping a bottle water or a bottle water that you keep full of water in your locker on hand is a lifesaver. Definitely want to get you that. I mean, you just never know. And it's always better to be prepared. And if there's any kind of, local issue or, natural disaster or just local issue where they're like, oh, the water's not safe, or there's a boil water advisory, you want to have something to help you get by. To help you, kind of, more comfortably kind of get through the situation. And having you a bottle of water or 2 or 3 is certainly a good idea. And don't throw those bottles away when you're done. Do not. And don't mix your juice and stuff in them, because it's going to be almost impossible for you to actually clean them. What you're going to do is you're going to drink out of them. You're going to put a little bit of dish soap in, clean it the best you can, rinse it out, let it fully dry, and then refill it with water and put it back in your locker. And just keep using them bottled waters. Because if there's an issue where the water's turned off or, whatever, the water's not safe, the water that you have in those bottles you got at a time where it was technically legally drinkable is going to be better than not having it all. Fun health hygiene thing that I also discovered in prison. When I first went, right, I got a bottle of dish soap. And like most people, I have my bowl and my cup, and so in my container, and I'm washing out my dishes in the bathroom sink with my dish soap in my hand, right? Because I'm not using one of like the 2 prison issued wash rags. And at that point, I hadn't been able to purchase a wash rag off commissary, like a better quality, decent wash rag that hasn't been used by 300 people before me. So I didn't have enough extra washcloths to use one of those as a dish rag. So anyway, so I'm washing my dishes out, and one of the Spanish mommies, bless her heart, was like, oh no, honey. She said, this is what you need to do. And she showed me, because at the time they had free pads and tampons in the bathrooms, compliments of the CARES Act, which I don't know if they still do that. I don't know if they're going to continue that after the CARES Act funding stops. I don't know. But I do know it was a godsend. But yeah, and you just use a tampon. Just, open one up, throw the package away, actual tampon. She said the tampon is your sponge. You get it wet, put some dish soap on it, use it to wash your dishes, works like a charm. It did. And the pads and panty liners were great dish towels to dry your dishes. Welcome to women's prison. So yeah, so those are a few of my prison health and hygiene tips, hacks, whatever. If you like the video, like the video. If you've not already subscribed and you're comfortable doing so, please do. I'm really hoping to really hit that 1K at some point. At this point, we're a little over 200. My Cash App and PayPal will be in the description if you'd like to donate to the channel, as will my email if you need to contact me for any reason. And as y'all know, I'm working on my first book. I'm honestly a little behind schedule at this point, but I'm still feeling pretty confident that I can get it published late summer, early fall, and that'll be regarding my 16 months in prison. And there is a merch line in the description if you would like to represent the FedPhoenix fam, show your support. I definitely would greatly appreciate it. So with all of that, keep in mind whatever you're going through is just a slice of your life. You will get through it because you have to, and good day. God bless.